Not for Sale by Martin Wilsey. Ty Crowley cleared the ridge and looked down on the city of Greco. Ty hated this planet, and Greco was the reason why. It was the only place in this entire God-forsaken world that was warm enough to support a population and spaceport. Thermals from the fissures provided the warmth. Everything else had to be a struggle. Everything else was for sale. Everything. Ty kept telling himself he didn't care. This was the only place he could get what he was looking for. He had the credits, he just needed the black market. Greco was the right one. But first he needed to be able to pass as human. He had no time for bigotry. He settled his backpack on his shoulders and moved on. His alloy chassis was loud and recognizable for what it was. That would not do for this mission. Ty carefully climbed down the rocks and entered the city via the South Bridge Gate. His energy charge was 15%, but it would be enough. The nutrition and electrolyte packs were also dangerously low. His organics would be in trouble soon. His brain needed calories. His skin only covered his head and shoulders and didn't require much maintenance. The long dark hair and full beard were more than just insulation. Ty needed clothes to cover the rest of his chassis. That would be easy. "Hey, cyborg," called a voice from the shadows. "You think you can just walk in here?" "Please, sir, my charge is at 2%. Ty moved toward the man with a stilted affectation, using the default voice of an old Model 11 cyborg. "I have credits. Can you direct me to the nearest public charging kiosk?" Ty held up a hand with a gold credit chip. It was a fortune to a street thug. When the crowbar swung down toward Ty's head, he simply was not there. He had moved so fast. The thug's neck broke far easier than Ty expected. Later, as the naked dead body fell into the fissure, Ty checked his charge, 14%. He was now dressed in a heavy fiber tunic, pants, hooded cowl, and even boots and gloves. It hid his chassis neatly. He now had a vest of many pockets. A few of them held a few credits of various kinds. One pocket held a heavy folding knife and another a narcotic hypo spray labeled Devil Red. The hypo followed the man over the side. The heavy body odor in the clothes would add to the effect. The entrance to the Greco South Island was unmanned. The manual gate was in poor repair, but it opened and closed well enough. Ty could instantly feel the difference in the atmosphere on the inside. It was much warmer and the humidity was higher. Sensors measured the temperature at 10.51 Celsius. Ty lowered his hood and combed his fingers through his hair, pushing it away from his face. He was surprised at the number of people out and about here. His internal local clock synced with Greco Standard Time at 0231. The last time Ty had been here, this had been a wide avenue used mostly by cargo transport vehicles. Vendor stalls now crowded the space, turning one wide road into two narrow walkways. Ty purchased 6 high-calorie nutrition drinks and some dried electrolytes. He consumed them one after another, standing off to the side next to a trash chute. A filthy child squatted at the curb in front of him, facing away. Sitting on his heels and not looking at Ty, he said, "Don't give yourself away so easily. Some vendors only sell electrolytes to tag cyborgs. Get the ramen at Nico's instead. Cyborg parts are hot in the black market. Don't be parts." "Thanks," Ty said. "What's your name?" "I'm Ty." "Call me Oren," the kid said as he stood. He pushed a sleeve up so Ty could see his hand skin stopped halfway to his elbow. "You buying or selling?" "A little of both, plus I'm looking for someone," Ty replied. "For a small fee I can show you your best bets," Oren said. "So the vendors aren't the only ones watching who buys electrolytes and nutrition drinks," Ty smiled. "Body odor is a great touch," Oren said. "I'll remember that." "How small is your fee?" Ty asked. "The bigger the fee, the better the service." Oren held out a hand. Ty dug out all the credits that had been in the vest pockets and dropped them into the outstretched hand. The boy's eyes went wide. "Who are you looking for?" "Never mind that. To start, I am looking for a navigation actuator for an S-22 shuttle." Ty paused. "With charts." "Trading or buying?" "Either." "On or off books?" "Off. The star charts should be way off," Ty replied as he watched 2 heavily armed men walk openly down the street. "That should be easy. You can get anything in Greco," Oren bragged. "Weapons are allowed now?" Ty was still watching the 2 men. "Yep, it depends on the sector, though," Oren said, looking over his shoulder. "Everywhere we might go. Those are Citadel guards. A pain. The guy in the Citadel fancies himself as a governor. It won't last long. Never does. You need weapons? That's our first stop. Ty gestured for Orrin to lead the way. I need tools. Ty was surprised to see that the shop was only a few hundred meters farther. The shop was carved directly into the living rock, and the entire storefront was protected by thick iron grates and door. There was no sign, but bright light escaped through the bars. The door locks buzzed before they reached the call button. They entered the shop, and the door locks engaged as soon as the door closed behind them. The room was lined with glass counter display cases that were filled with firearms and munitions of all kinds. A woman behind the counter was dressed in black fatigue pants and tank top. She wore wearable comms ear cuffs and clear wraparound HUD glasses. Corner turrets tracked their movements as they entered. Hey, Orrin, she said to the kid. What can I do for y'all today? Ty was already scanning the contents of the shop. You take trades? Ty asked. If the market is there, sure, she said. I want a Catron Spike 4mm with 2 megs of armor piercing and 2 megs of glass frangible, Ty said. I also want that Burkholder over-under with 4 megs of armor piercing and 20 10mm grenades, single-point sling and carbon holster. Ty pointed to the rack. The clerk raised an eyebrow, looking him up and down. Expensive. I will save us the time by making sure you have the credits before I even let you inspect them. I'd like to trade, Ty said, knowing most of these were stolen military weapons. Sure, but for that list it's got to be good, she smiled. Making no sudden moves, Ty reached into his vest and withdrew a thermal detonator capable of destroying the entire South Island. That's armed, the clerk unconsciously backed away. I knew you'd want to know it was the real thing. Ty had anticipated that she could have just as quickly let the turrets kill him and just take whatever he had, but not this. She had guts. After her initial reaction, she was calm and collected. I think that will cover it. She began to collect the gear and pile it on the counter before Ty. In a show of trust, Ty disarmed, reset the device, and set it on the counter before he took off his pack and heavy cloak. He put the holster on first, configured it for left-hand draw from concealment at his kidney. The loaded carbine swung neatly behind his back, muzzle down. He loaded and holstered the handgun before stowing the magazines in the vest pockets. The woman placed a long, double-edged sheath combat knife on the counter. To complete the set, it's nice to see someone that knows what they are doing. Thank you. The knife disappeared into the folds of the cloak. And this is for you, Orrin. She tossed him a high-quality multi-tool. Bring your friends in any time. Orrin smiled and waved as the door locks buzzed. Ty slow-blinked a goodbye and turned away. They were half a block away when Orrin said, You could have gotten 10 times that in the black market on Greco for that thing. I know. I'm in a hurry. Now, I need to rest. The S-22 navigation actuator should be easy, he said to Orrin, moving into the crowd. It's the charts that will be hard. I know just the place you need. Orrin moved with purpose. Do you realize how loud your joints are? How's about a sonic soak and a charge? It took a lot longer to find the next stop on the far end of the South Island. There were 7 islands in Greco. They were not really islands surrounded by water. These were giant pillars, like rock formations surrounded by deep ravines. There were sometimes magma flows at their bottoms. There was always an eerie light from them, but the geothermal activity made it warm enough. As they moved, the night got deeper and darker, and there were fewer people until there were no people at all. The door they approached had a dirty floodlight above it, along with a huge old security camera. Orrin pushed the button. After a minute, Ty could hear bolts sliding, followed by the door. A pretty Asian woman opened the door, saying, Come in, welcome. Ty looked sideways at Orrin as the tiny woman bolted the door behind them. Welcome back. How may I help today? 2 sonic soaks and a charge. He pays, Orrin said. 1 room, 1 hour. As you wish, the tiny woman gestured with a sweep of her arm. They followed her down a long hallway. Numbered doors lined the way. Ty knew it was some kind of brothel. It would be a good cover. She stopped at a 35 stenciled on the door. 200 credits, please. She held out a tablet. Ty transmitted the funds and the door opened as the madam headed back toward the front. An even smaller Asian woman was already inside, wearing a heavy terry cloth robe. The lights were dim. The tiny woman bowed. I am Tico. Please undress. Hang everything on pegs." Her accent was very thick. Ty just stood there and watched as she slid massive door bolts into the locked position. Oren had already stripped and his clothes hung on pegs. Oren was mostly cyborg with skin only covering his head, chest, upper arms, and hands. He moved forward to stand on a grate that was about 2 meters across. Tico touched some controls and Oren began to sink into warm oil. "Me help you," Tico said to Ty as she took off his cloak. After she hung it on a peg, she took off her robe. She was also a cyborg with skin on her face, neck, and entire right arm and hand. The edges of Tico's skin were a ragged mess, but her chassis was beautiful. It was polished to a high sheen with intricate engravings. "Normally I offer to launder your clothes while you soak." She took his carbine and hung it on a peg. "These smell human. They are perfect this way. Well done." Her accent was now completely gone. Ty understood the cover without her explaining. Smart. Soon Ty was also without clothes. His skin covered only his head and shoulders. Tico attached a universal charging cable to a port at the base of his spine. She activated the oil bath and descended into the bath with him. In the bath, she had a variety of specialty brushes and tools. A projector displayed a diagnostic array on an adjacent wall. Ty realized she was an expert engineer. It was apparent to Ty that Oren had been here before. Tico completely ignored Oren as he began to use her supplies to clean and charge his arms without her help. They were only prosthetics from the elbows down. Oren noticed Ty was watching him. Ty had only raised an eyebrow. "I got caught stealing," Oren stated. "Twice." "There are no jails in Greco, only lessons," Tico said as she worked. She was highly skilled at maintenance. She knew about even the most esoteric access points to clean. "You have a lot of carbon scoring. How long have your nanites been this depleted?" "Too long," Ty replied. Just then his charge hit 30% and new systems came back up. Passive sensors activated and detected massive amounts of RF emanating from Tico. "We can top you off," Tico said without pausing. "That's another 2,000 credits, though." From her tone, she expected he could not afford it. "Do it," Ty said. "I need the M7s, though." Tico froze at that. After a moment, she stood up straight and looked Ty in the eyes. "M7 nanites will be 9,000 credits." Ty nodded and said, "Yes, please. Transmitting credits now." I added an extra 1,000 for discretion. She looked closely at his sternum plate for a moment before getting back to work. He knew she recognized the self-destruct system contained there. Ty was fully dressed and Tico was in her oversized robe again. Her hair was slicked back in a ponytail and she was smiling all the way to her eyes. "You come back any time. Ask for Tico. Tico always be here for you," she said. Her affected accent was back, just another Greco prostitute. Ty now knew she was a talented tech and engineer. He would remember her. "I will." Ty rolled his neck and flexed a shoulder, enjoying the silent function of all his joints. They had not run this well in a decade. To his surprise, she stood on tiptoes and softly kissed him on the lips. She hugged him and whispered so softly into his ear she had to know only he could hear it. "Be careful." The madam came out of nowhere and pulled Tico back inside and closed the door. "Thanks for the tune-up, man." Oren flexed his fingers. "What are M7 nanites?" "They are dedicated military-grade specialty nanites," Ty said. "They cannot self-replicate. They are too dangerous." "I thought 7 Series nanites were for medical, for surgery and stuff." Oren was now leading the way through wider avenues with increasingly more people. "Parts and charts next," Ty told him. "Headed that way now," Oren said. "I won't be able to go in there with you. No kids. You just went into a brothel with me," Ty said. "A weapons dealership before that." "Yeah, but this place is legit, adults only," Oren said. "Grown-ups, you know what I mean? Boring. She will be in the last booth on the right." He stopped and pointed to a noodle shop. "I'll be in here. Just ahead is the place. It's called the Crown." As Oren disappeared, Ty could see the establishment in the center of the next block. A stone awning covered the walkway in front like an old hotel. There was an oversized doorman dressed in black who was mostly cyborg and made no attempt to hide the fact. As Ty approached, the doorman opened the door for him, saying nothing. There was a podium in the center of the lobby made of rich-looking dark-stained wood that was such a good simulation Ty thought it might be real. The podium sign politely said, "Please seat yourself." Beethoven was softly playing on invisible speakers. 3 steps down into the lounge, Ty was surprised by how many people were there at this hour. It was a smoking lounge. People were smoking pipes or cigars and talking quietly or reading low-light plates or actual books, the kind made from dead trees. No one paid Ty any attention as he moved along the line of booths on the right. He felt out of place for the first time since he arrived in Greco. No one else seemed to be overtly armed in there. The last booth was more like a small room or alcove. It was about 3 meters square with heavy drapes that could be drawn closed at the opening for additional privacy. A bald, ebony-skinned woman with a thick body and heavy breasts leaned back in the booth. The remains of a large meal still sat before her. She held up a freshly lit cigar that was the same color as her skin. Her fingernails were long to the point of impractical, but they were beautifully painted. She looked Ty up and down, but said nothing. "Excuse me, I am looking for Penelope," Ty said in a polite tone. "The last booth on the right." In addition to a copious amount of jewelry, she had ornate ear cuffs that provided comms without implants. Ty could hear someone speaking over the link, but could not make out the words. "Picking up or dropping off?" she said before she made an overtly sensual puff on the cigar. "Both, I hope," Ty replied. "Please have a seat, but don't scratch my booth," Penelope said as she gestured to his carbine on the sling. Ty smoothly swung the rifle to the front as he sat to her right, facing the lane he had just walked. "I am looking for some parts and charts for an old S-22. Ty paused. "For the Arkham branch." Both of Penelope's eyebrows shot up. She tried to cover her smile with a few more puffs on her cigar. "You flatter me." She looked at him closely then. "Even if I had those charts, even if you had 1,000,000 credits, there is no way I could risk selling them. I enjoy my existence too much to risk it." "How about 2,000,000 credits?" Ty said, deadpan, quiet and in a deep growl. "Not for sale," she said uncomfortably. 5,000,000, Ty barely whispered. He leaned in. "Not for sale." It pained her to say it. "I know only one person that has them." "In the black market, everything is for sale," Ty said as his sensors detected weapons powering up somewhere around him. "One simply needs to find the correct currency." Ty leaned back into the seat and began unbuttoning his tunic, revealing his sternum plate. An arcane symbol began to glow faintly with a pulsing red. "Without those charts I have failed my mission, and my continued existence has no meaning," Ty said. The horror on Penelope's face said she knew what the symbol meant. She knew what he was. She knew that her next decision would decide whether Greco remained or the entire city was to become one giant smoking radioactive crater. She held up a hand to stop the thugs that Ty had still not seen. She puffed her cigar and collected herself, and she tapped off the long column of ashes onto her dinner plate. "Not for sale." She puffed and blew a smoke ring. "But I will trade for a favor." Ty's sensors detected the microdrone listeners. "What the hell did you do?" Oren said in a loud whisper as Ty sat across from him at the noodle shop. "The blast shields dropped on the front door and all the windows. Then the doorman ran. I have never seen a cyborg move that fast." "I was negotiating," Ty said. "What happened? Did you get the charts?" Oren drank some broth from his bowl. "Almost. I need to make one stop first." "What's in the bag?" Oren gestured at the duffel Ty had set on the floor by the table. "It's the navigation actuator I needed." Ty smiled then. "Penelope has a well-stocked kitchen in there, as well as spare parts, considering it's a cigar lounge." "Ha! You really think that place is a cigar lounge?" Oren was shaking his head. "She also gave me this." Ty placed an apple-sized, 20-sided device on the table between them. Oren spewed out the soup he had in his mouth as he tried to push away from the thing. He drew a napkin over it and rapidly looked in every direction, hoping no one else saw it. "Are you insane?" He was whispering again. "Do you even know what that is?" "You didn't even blink at the thermal detonator, man," Ty said as he looked at the device and the napkin both. "Possession of a Beale switch is so illegal. It's the death penalty for me if I don't turn you and Penelope in right effing now." Oren stood up as if to go. "But you won't turn me in, will you?" Ty said. "Because what she wants me to do is find someone named Lita Wheeler and give it to her." These words stopped Oren in his tracks. He just stared at Ty with wide eyes. After a minute, Oren started to laugh. The heartfelt nature of the mirth was contagious. Ty smiled and then joined him in laughter. He had to hand Oren a napkin to wipe his eyes before he was done and could speak again. "Okay, let me get this straight." Oren leaned on the table with both hands. "In order for you to get the charts you want, all you have to do is carry a Beale switch, the deadliest, most illegal weapon I know of, and give it to the most wanted assassin on the planet. Is that about right?" "What do you know about Wheeler?" Ty asked quietly. "Lita Wheeler is a merc and assassin, but mostly she kills people that have pissed her off," Oren whispered. "I hear she's really pissed off at the Citadel right now, and now someone wants her to have a Beale switch?" "You forgot the part about getting it done before sunrise," Ty added casually. "You neglected to tell me that part." Oren was about to start laughing again when he felt the muzzle of a gun pressed against the base of his neck. "I hear you're looking for me." It was a woman's voice. "That was easier than I thought," Ty said, smiling as he poured some green tea into a small porcelain cup. "There's nothing easy about Greco City or the black market," Lita Wheeler said, remaining still as a statue. The gun she held to the kid's neck didn't move a millimeter. Ty sipped his tea before saying, "You probably already know that this is a setup and a trap by the Citadel to capture you. You have pissed off a lot of people on this planet, as usual." "I know," she said. "The Beale switch is real, though. I need it." Ty looked up at her then. She had long, wild black hair. She wore HUD wraparound glasses and a black face mask filter that covered the lower half of her face. The silver ornate comm unit ear cuff was on her right ear. She wore a charcoal gray poncho that went to her knees in front and back. It was very quiet, almost unnaturally hushed clothing. If my sensors could detect your micro-drone audio bugs in the lounge, a professional sweep could as well. "Your sensors didn't detect shit," she said, and held up a remote detonator. "Setup indeed." She pressed the button and a series of loud concussions exploded from the lounge across the street. The blast shields bulged out in places and dust emerged around some areas. When Ty turned back to look, the Beale switch and Lita Wheeler were both gone. "She seemed nice," Oren said as Ty finished his tea and picked up the data chip that she had traded for the device. "Where are you going?" Oren had to jog a little to keep up. They had been moving quickly south for 15 minutes already. "The south gate where I came in," Ty replied without slowing down. "Oren, you seem like a decent kid." Ty looked down at him. "Greco City has the potential to be—" Two men stepped out of the shadows directly in front of them. Another man stayed behind cover to the right. "Ty Crowley, where do you think you are going in such a hurry?" The man's sentence was cut off by the knife that had penetrated his left eye. Ty had thrown it so fast it appeared as if by magic. The second man was distracted by it for only a moment. It was enough time for Ty to draw his handgun and shoot him in the face without breaking stride. "All we want is the data chip, man." This man had been smarter than the other two. He had a rifle and some cover behind a retaining wall. Ty noticed the type of weapon it was and moved. "Not for sale," was all Ty said as he kept walking. "Who said I was buying?" the man said as he opened fire. It was only a Frange carbine designed for humans. The glass rounds shattered on Ty's breastplate. Ty was flattered. They really did think he was human. Oren dove for cover. Ty dropped the shooter with a single shot to the very top of his exposed cranium. "Not for sale," Ty said, and fired 6 more times, never slowing. Each bullet found a separate target. Armed men fell all around them. Ty kept walking as he hitched up the bag holding the navigation actuator. "Where are you going?" Oren ran up beside him again. "Back to my ship." Ty glanced at Oren. "You got somewhere you can lay low, kid? May need to keep your head down for a couple of days." There was a loud thunk, a sound of such low frequency it was felt in the chest more than it was heard. This finally got Ty to stop and look back. The lights in the high citadel were fading out. A half-dozen light flyers were dropping from the sky like stones. "Oh shit," Ty said. He ran. "What was that?" Oren asked. Somehow he was keeping up. The navigation actuator and his weapons must have been heavier than Ty thought. The Beale switch, Ty replied. All electrical activity within the impact area will be suppressed for about 5 minutes. It only hits a sphere about 1 kilometer across. Organics will die, devices deactivate, some shit falls apart, electrons stop flowing. Up there it will only affect the Citadel proper, the bastards. Ty hurtled over a crashed grav cycle. Orin detoured through a vendor booth. Everyone was just standing around, looking at the Citadel. Smoking crash sites from the flyers added to the confusion. Why are we running? When physics starts back up, stuff does not react well. Ty rounded a corner and stopped with his back to a thick stone section. This entire alley was carved into the rock. Civil defense bells began to ring. People began running, getting under cover. Now what? Orin asked, but followed Ty's lead. They were only about 100 meters from the South Bridge gate where he had entered Greco. Just wait, Ty said as an enormous man approached the mouth of the alley from the bridge. All I want is the data chip. He began to raise a huge rail gun. It's not for sale. I wasn't asking. He aimed. It all happened at once. Another deeper thunk, followed by a massive explosion. The railgun fired, going wide, the round impacting the opposite alley wall. At the same time, the man's head flew from its shoulders. Lita joined them with her back to the wall in the alley as she resheathed a huge knife. Thanks, Ty said, gesturing at the head of the cyborg. He's still alive. Orin pointed to the head. Its eyes followed them. Orin started to leave the alley when he was pulled back by both Lita and Ty. A moment later, high-velocity shrapnel tore through the area. 3 seconds after that, it was raining gravel. It was a full 30 seconds before it subsided. How did you get here so fast? Ty asked. How could you get to the top of the Citadel and back here so fast? I didn't go to the top. I just went to the garage level right after I left you. I attached the Beale switch to the top of the elevator. One of the 20 switches is an elevation trigger, she said. I didn't expect it to go all the way up so soon. The black market is going to love this, Orin added as he peeked around the corner. Leadership was bad for business. Let's move, Lita said with confidence. In nearly perfect unison, Ty and Orin said, Where? The Arkham branch. I hear you have charts and an S-22. Lita Wheeler pulled her mask down and then pushed up her goggles. Her smile shone brightly. It's my favorite kind of ship. High-velocity shrapnel had caught the men guarding the bridge in the open. The automated sentry there was never activated. Civilians were emerging from shelters. The streets were littered with debris and the bodies of soldiers. You can come with us, Orin, Ty said. You're good under pressure. It's going to be chaos here for a while. Anarchy returns. Ah, but the black market will be hotter than ever, he laughed. Money to be made. Besides, my parents need me. Parents? Lita looked incredulous. Don't act surprised, Orin said. The orphan thing is a good money-maker. My parents own the noodle shop I was recommending. Don't tell anyone. Your secret is safe with us, Ty said. Can I ask a question? Orin paused with them at the gate. How did this suddenly become an us, you and her? Tell him, Lita said. It was always a rescue mission, Ty said. When you are a wanted killer on a planet full of killers that's run by a black market, the best flair is to have something that is not for sale. Be safe, little man. Lita kissed his cheek and then followed Ty through the gate. This has been Not for Sale by Martin Wilsey, A Tale of Luminous Station, narrated by David McCord. Audio and print copyright by Martin Wilsey. All rights reserved.